joining us from. My name is Hannah, and today we are doing some coloring. We're doing some adult coloring, and that just means it's a little more complicated than what we did when we were kids. I'm sure there are plenty of kids today that are doing these types of patterns and techniques, and I've really gotten into this over the last 6 months or so. And over that time period, several books have been released. I bought all of these on Amazon that show you how you can do different patterns. So it's patterns, techniques, and these are going to be tutorials that show you sort of step by step how to make the pattern. And so as you can see, I have 5 books here. I'm going to be coloring today from this one. This is the first one that I bought. It's Coco Wyo, How to Draw Patterns, and it's really super fun. It's really what got me obsessed with the idea of these different pattern type books. And so this is the one that I'm working through right now. So I'll show you some of the things that I've done, and then I'm going to do some coloring. But I did also want to quickly show you some of the other options that are out there. I'm planning on doing a longer video soon that actually compares all 5 of these videos. I think there may be others that are available, but I think these are the most popular ones, at least as of July 2025. But yeah, they're all available on Amazon, and they're all a ton of fun. So I am just gonna open up my iPad real quick so I can make sure I'm following along in the chat. I hope you're having a wonderful day, staying cool if it is summer where you're joining us from. Hopefully you're drinking enough water. I know that is definitely a concern where I am. It's very warm on my patio today. My thermometer picked up 119 degrees in the shade, and yeah, that's pretty warm. That's pretty hot. So all right, got my iPad set up. Let's get into this. All right, so if you're just joining, I am taking a quick look at some of these How to Draw Patterns books, and then I'm actually going to be coloring out of this Coco Wyo one. So like I said, this is the first one that I purchased. I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with the idea of creating different patterns with our coloring. And to achieve those patterns, you do need some basic supplies. So the first thing that you'll probably need is an alcohol marker. There are tons of different ones on the market. The ones I've been using for many years are Spectrum Noir. I'm not saying they're better or worse than anything else, but they were very affordable. I bought mine on Tuesday morning, and I got a great deal on the full set. The other thing that you're gonna need is some sort of acrylic markers. So the ones I'm gonna be using today are Sharpie acrylic markers, and also some from Grabby. So these are really great because there's a lot of different colors in this box, but I really do enjoy coloring with the Sharpies. It's just a more limited palette. You also will need some sort of white gel pen. I like the Uniball Signo. This is a great gel pen. It also comes in silver and gold, which are wonderful, but I also really like this acrylic marker from Artistro, and I find that I use this almost exclusively when it comes to white highlights. So this is kind of where I'm spending most of my white highlighting time these days. Okay, so like I said, this is the one we're going to be coloring out of, but I wanted to show you quickly these other books. If you're interested in seeing a more in-depth look at these, maybe you're interested in starting some techniques and patterned adult coloring, and you're not sure which book you want to purchase, you'll be able to get a closer look in the upcoming video. So this one is from Willow Lake Studio. This one is a little bit smaller than the other books, so it's square instead of, you know, long and shorter. But what you're going to see is there are step-by-step instructions on how to create a pattern. This one is Footprints in Snow, and they tell us we're going to start with a light base, then we're going to add a little texture, then we're adding another shade, and then they're going, like I said, step by step, how to get there. Now you can color directly in these books. They do give you space to do that. You must put something in between your pages because your alcohol markers will absolutely bleed through. So you could just use a piece of cardstock or a piece of laminated paper or something like that, but it will bleed through onto the next page. Make sure you're putting something in between. So I like this book. I like the different patterns that are in here. I'm just gonna flip through a couple real quick. We've got dirt, some wood grain, bushes. I don't want to spoil too much. They do fluffy fur toward the end, some plaid. This jelly is a lot of fun. The next book is How to Color ? And this one is, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, so I'm not going to. Christina. And this one has the same idea, but it has more patterns in it. So you can see there's 2 per page, but again, they're going step by step and they're giving you space to practice. She actually gives you a little bit more space to practice than the other book that I showed you, but we've got sky, we've got water, ice, grass and bushes, lots of fun things in here. So this one is How to Color ? This next one is from Southern Lotus, How to Draw Easy Patterns. This is another large book. This one has some practice pages in the back that are like full-on coloring pages, which is great, and I love this. So some cute things there, but again, 2 different patterns per page. There's space for you to do your practice, and there's also space for you to write down which colors you're using. So if you're practicing here, you could come back later and replicate it with the same colors that you used the first time. So cool stuff in here. We've got camo. This leaf is really neat. We've got more wood grain. Now, there is some repetition between books, but I would say that they're all a little bit different. The next one is from Vivi Tinta, How to Color, and this one has lots and lots of practice, a couple of different things that this one has, but again, step by step and a place to do your practice. Now this one doesn't give explanations on this side here. It's just kind of showing you, let me skip ahead. It's kind of showing you what to do, and then you're just given a space to practice. So these books are all in English. If you don't speak English, this would be really nice because there's no English there. It's just follow along with the pictures. She also gives you some things where it's not step by step, but gives you examples and then a place to follow along. So this is a really fun one too. I really like this gummy bear. Okay, the one that I'm going to be coloring out of today is How to Draw Patterns by Coco Wyo. And this is the first book that I purchased like this. Absolutely obsessed with it. It's so much fun. And after a brief little intro, we start getting into our patterns here. They show us step by step, and then they give us a space to do the pattern. So you can see I did this page already. We've got our cute little kitty with the bow raincoat, some limes on our curtain. I colored this lamp with this fish design. This little quilt was so much fun to do. It's covering up the little chick. And so when you get this coloring book, this part is blank. I know it's hard to tell when you see it next to the things that are already colored, but if you look at the back of the page, you can see that it was colored with the acrylic and alcohol markers. Again, make sure when you're coloring, you are putting some sort of paper in between your pages. It will bleed through. All right, we've got a knit and a sweater here, strawberries and cherries, flowers, bees, stained glass, cracked earth. This one was really fun, these crystals. So originally the lines were black and you color over them with a white acrylic pen. And so in their example here, they covered some of their black lines, but not all of them, and I decided to go ahead and cover everything up. I really like how that turned out. Hi Mary Jane, hi Dawn, hi JC, how's it going this evening? We're gonna do some coloring. A couple more examples. This one I like how it turned out, but I'm not really sure what the original shape was supposed to be. I mean, it feels like a cutting board, but I'm not sure why it's cracked and growing flowers and moss, but that's okay. This one was a lot of fun. We've got a shiny honeycomb here, our melting popsicle. So you can see I've done quite a few patterns here, but I'm only partway through this first book, and then I've got 4 more books to work through. This one I used a silver acrylic marker to get rid of the black line. And then I started doing some of these with colored pencil. So even though the original was given to us with alcohol marker, it's suggesting alcohol markers here, you can actually mix it up and use whatever supplies you have. So I had just gotten some new colored pencils and I wanted to try them out. So that's actually what that is. And then the Artistro white acrylic marker to get those nice white lines. This one is also colored pencil. And I've got just a couple more. Our little kitty walking on the bricks. So much fun. Some roof tiles. This one wasn't my favorite, but it is the last one that I did. And you know, I think sometimes when we do something that we're kind of meh about, it's what causes us to put it down for a while, and that's what happened. But we are back. Oh, actually it looks like I skipped this page and I did start on some rust, but all right, so coloring. We have some choices here. These pastel pavers are okay, but I feel like we could do something a little more interesting. These scales, it feels very similar to the roof tiles, so that's kind of why I skipped that page, even though I like to go in order. I think the rust and the wood planks are going to be a little more interesting. You can see my paper here where I have been putting it between my sheets, and it's been soaking up all of that beautiful alcohol ink. So I'm going to make sure that's in there. Yeah, and it's time to do some coloring. What are you all up to this evening? I colored my base. You can see my colors didn't quite match up here, but that's okay. I did a brown, I did a teal, and I'm on the part where I'm going to be shading my rust patches with a darker tone. And it looks like they've actually used a couple of darker tones because there's some shading within just the brown, and then there's also kind of some squiggly bits around the edges, some edging detail there. Dawn, do you have this book? When I'm coloring, I'm going to be referring to my swatch sheets. So I have a swatch sheet for my alcohol markers. I'm going to be using Spectrum Noir. And I also have some sheets for my Sharpies, so the paint markers, that's what we'll be using, and my grabbies. So when I'm choosing my colors, I'm looking back at my swatch sheet, which is just off to the side, just to help me figure out what colors I want to use. Oops. I am running out of room on my desk. Yeah, I think this book is so much fun. And like I said, I'm obsessed with the idea behind it. I'm obsessed with all the patterns, and it just opens up so many possibilities in all of the other coloring that I do, because most of the coloring that I do is with stamped images for cards. And just, I mean, I don't have any card swap friends that are doing coloring techniques like this on their cards. And I think it's just because they don't know that it's a possibility, you know. And To be fair, I haven't been sending cards with this kind of coloring either, but it's coming. It's definitely coming. So, all right, I need that darker brown. So let's open up these markers. They give you space here to write down the colors that you're using, but I usually don't do that. Probably should, but I don't usually do the same thing the same way twice anyway. So I don't know if it would be worth my time. Since this color is a little lighter than the color that's already there, I'm sort of reverse shading and I'm coloring inside and leaving the outside a little bit darker. Hi, Hannah. Speaking of card swap friends, Hannah is one of my card swap friends. Just doing some coloring. Hannah, what are you up to tonight? Hello, Renee, another card swap friend. Oh, it's so nice of you to join me. Are you ladies crafting? Doing some coloring. Scott and Rachel, are you out there? For those of you that are just coming in, we're doing some coloring tonight. I'm using a really fun how-to color book. This one is from Cocowayo. It's amazing. And the coloring is all done with alcohol markers, acrylic markers, and some gel pens. So that's the basic idea of what we're using. Scan and cut, yes. Renee's crafting, Hannah's playing with her scan and cut. I also have a scan and cut and I haven't touched it in a little while. And I'm a little embarrassed, not a lot embarrassed because I'm sure you all can relate, but my counter space in my craft room has kind of been a mess for a little while. And my scan and cut is on my desk and it's kind of been buried. And so that is probably a good reason why I haven't touched it in a minute, but it's mostly clear now. I've been cleaning my craft room literally all day and kind of all week. Dawn, I'm glad you got to do some crafting today. And Hannah, what project are you working on with the scan and cut? So what I'm doing as I'm coloring here, I'm just looking over at the instructions. It's saying to shade the rest patches with a darker tone. So I added some variation in my color, and now I'm kind of coming in with my darkest marker, which is not quite black, but it's a charcoaly color. I'm just going to add some detail around the edges just to give it some definition. And looking at the picture, you can see it's not quite all over all of the edges, so I'm just following along with the ideas that they gave. Oh, I drew in all of these patches, so even though a book like this gives you step-by-step instructions, it doesn't take all of the creativity out by any means, because a lot of the things that you're going to do are blank to start with. Sure, there's a birdhouse here, but we're doing wood planks, and there's no wood planks. You have to draw the planks before you can even start doing the technique to color them. So at first I think I thought, oh, I don't know. I want to be creative. I don't want somebody telling me what to do, but there's plenty of room for creativity when it comes to these techniques. So I think I'm happy with my rest here for the most part. And now I'm gonna try this aged effect using a color darker than the base. And this is where it would have come in handy for me to write down what color I used on that mailbox 2 weeks ago. Recalibrating a scan and cut, Hannah. Oh, yes, that doesn't sound like fun, but it definitely sounds necessary. You don't want it to cut into all those beautiful images you colored. And Renee, yes, the book I'm coloring in is Coco Wyo, How to Draw Patterns, and it is full of different patterns to try, and it goes step by step and shows you what it should look like along the way. It really breaks it down for you. Sometimes when we see patterns like this, when they're totally done, it's like, how did they do that? But this book is all about breaking that down for us. I'm excited to do this one. I should have done this one tonight, but kind of working through them in order, sort of. I did skip this page because I didn't like it, but for the most part, I love all of these. Yes, it is very cool, and I'm just imagining using all of these different techniques when I'm coloring my little lawn fawn critters to put on cards and things. So I'm excited to see what that's gonna look like. All right, I really do wish I knew what I used, but I suppose if it was a Spectrum Noir alcohol marker, which I suppose it was, then it should match my swatch. Okay, so it's probably BT8. Let's pull that out. BT8. And then looking at the picture, it's just kind of streaky in there. So this looks very dark. Let's see if that dries back a little bit. I am going to do a longer video here in the next few days, hopefully, that shows some of the other books that are available. So this one is from Coco Wyo. This is the first one that I purchased, but there are several others that are available now, and they are a lot of fun too. And so my video is just going to show kind of the difference between them. So this, I'll just give you a quick overview. They all have some of the same ideas, but they're all different. You know, they might all have water, but they all show it a little bit different and give you different ideas. I really thought that this was going to be that BT8. I mean, if you look at it, doesn't that look like that? This looks really dark. We'll see what happens. That's all right. I also have a blender marker, and that thing can do some magic, so. I do love coloring. I host a craft club at my house, and I invite my girlfriends over. It's about once a month. Sometimes it's twice in a month, and sometimes we have to skip a month, but whenever my girlfriends aren't sure what they want to work on, they just color, and I do the same. So I think coloring is definitely a great way to relax, and it's fun too because you can color while you're chatting. You don't have to think so hard, and compared to some of the other crafty things we do, you know, it doesn't take a ton of supplies. You can sort of be contained in your space. So I'm coming in. Dawn said she put them all on her wish list. I don't blame you. I mean, if they come out with another one, I'm gonna buy that one too, so. I'm using a blender marker. This is Ohu, and it came with my I showed these last week, these art markers. I bought these so that I could have more skin tones, and I was pleasantly surprised that it came with a blender, and it's nice and juicy. The ones that I had in my collection are, well, I've been using them a lot for a long time, so. I like the streaky look that this is giving me. It's definitely helping with the aged appearance. It's kind of hard to control the effect that you're getting with something like this, but it's part of the fun, right? So Craft Roulette is coming up. I am their guest crafter this Friday, and I've been watching a couple of the older episodes today while I'm in my craft room cleaning, and I don't feel nervous yet. I think that that will happen. I do a lot of teaching for my job online, so I don't feel like I'm going to be super nervous teaching. Well, and when we're not even teaching, it's kind of an interview and they're just watching you craft while you chat. So I think it'll be okay. I mean, I'm sure I'm going to be a little nervous, but it is very exciting, and it's going to come and go so fast. And then, you know, it's one of those things where I've been thinking about it for a couple of months, like, oh, I'm going to be on Craft Roulette. This is so exciting. And then it's going to be over. So I'm just going to try to enjoy it. Oh, thank you. I got to chat with Mary, the host, on Monday. We did our tech call. And as expected, I did have some technical difficulties, which is why they do those tech calls. And, you know, I work for the IT department for my school district, and so it's a little embarrassing to have tech trouble, but it's almost inevitable. And what are you gonna do? So, I need to let this dry. Oh, thank you, Hannah. Before I come back and do any more. And what I'm really thinking is I need to do some highlights, and I think I'll do those with a gel pen, like a beige or light brown gel pen, and not white. If I use white, I'll just go back over it. But the thing that's really gonna give this some good shading for me is actually colored pencils. And that is, yeah, that's gonna work really well. So I'm gonna come back to this a little bit later with the colored pencils. Dawn says maybe just aligning the tech equipment on both ends. That's definitely what it was. And so, I mean, I can tell you it was, I have everything locked down on my phone because people get hacked on their phones all the time, and it's terrible. And so I just have it so nothing is allowed to access my camera or my microphone, including the program that they were using. So it just took a couple of minutes to reset the settings, and then we were good to go. I'm just trying to decide which one I want to do with you live here. Some of them, they're all fun. I don't know. If somebody sees one that you really like, let me know. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like these fireworks. It's just the 4th of July recently. I didn't get to see any fireworks because, well, that's not true. We walked outside and we saw some from our front door because our neighbors like to shoot them off. But our little doggy, Coleman, who's adorable, does not like fireworks like most dogs. And so we always stay home on the 4th of July and we'll watch loud movies. And when we go to bed, you know, we'll just put on a lot of things that make noise just to hopefully soften the fireworks from outside, so he's not so startled, so it's not, you know, such a contrast with the quiet evening. Hannah, is this one glittery enough? The fireworks, I wonder if there is, I've done glitter effects on my shorts. There's gotta be a glitter. Maybe I already did the glitter one in this book. Okay. Renee's shopping. Foam tape in your hair. That is not where it's supposed to go, Dawn. No foam tape in the hair. Okay, so for the fireworks, as you can see in the picture here, there's no fireworks. You're drawing them from scratch. They're giving you a window frame, so there's another opportunity to do some texture. You could do a wood grain around the outside. You could do one of the fabric patterns on the curtain. I won't do those tonight. I'm just going to focus on the firework. But the first thing that you need to do is draw radiating lines with a pencil. So grab a pencil. Of course, that was the one thing I didn't have already out here. Okay, so obviously you want to draw things light enough that they're not gonna overtake everything. And I am making sure I do have my paper in between my sheets. There we go. All right. So they drew a little squiggle showing where the firework is coming up from, and then they've kind of got the explosion there. So I don't think that the idea is that we're replicating this pattern exactly. You know, you could have more or less lines. They're giving you the idea here that we're getting these curves. They're coming out from the middle here. And this curtain is not in an ideal place, and so if you were doing this, my recommendation would be to not try to stop at the curtain. Just keep going, because otherwise your curves are probably going to be distorted. So you can just go back and erase them there. It's no big deal. And everything in the book, you know, it's just suggestions. It's just starting places. There are tons of other tutorials and videos and things online where you can get more ideas, but also you just want to make it your own. You know, if you're like, oh, I really like the way that this turned out, but I don't like the hearts. Well, you don't have to do hearts. You could do stars, you could do dots, you could do it however you want. And I probably will add in more white dots, which is going to give it more of a sparkly look. It's going to be a more glittery look. Okay, and then for the background, it asks us to create a gradient base. So for that, I am going to use an alcohol marker, and I think I'll use a couple. The only thing that I don't love about my Spectrum Noirs is there are not a lot of blues. I don't know if anybody else uses these markers and has that same issue, but I mean, you can see here for true blues, we've got this one, which is, I mean, heart, it's barely anything. It's like barely there. I love this color. I use this color. But then we've got these shades. These two are extremely close. This one is not too far off. And that's it. There's not a lot of blue to choose from. So creating a gradient with these colors is definitely a little tough. But I think I can do it. I think I can. I think that this 8 and 9, I'll be able to create a gradient that way. We'll see. TB8, TB9. And I'm going to write them down this time in case I want to try this again and not try to pick them off of my swatch, which did not work when I was looking at my mailbox. All right. So there are a few different ways to do alcohol marker coloring, starting with the dark and then working into light, or starting with light and working into dark. And I'm very curious for my coloring friends out there, which way do you color? Do you start light and work into dark, or start dark and work into light? And for me, it kind of depends. In this case, I feel like starting with the dark is going to be the way to go, but I know that there are lots of people who are dedicated to their method of choosing. I also feel like I do a lot of back and forth, so it's like, does it really matter where I started? Because I'm reusing both of them so many times anyway. Sorry about that. All right, Dawn says both. Yeah, it depends on what you're coloring. So I started dark and worked into light. There's still wet, so it's kind of hard to see how it's gonna look when it's totally dry, but I do feel like I need a little bit more dark at the top. Yeah, I think that'll be fine. And then I'll wait a second for that to dry. Hannah says light to dark, but depends also. They're kind of split. Okay, these colors are so fun. They've done a rainbow here, and just because I'm following along with the tutorial, I think I'll probably just do it the way that they are showing here. But if you were doing 5 fireworks, let's say, if you were doing multiple fireworks, you could do one that's purple, one that's green, one that's red. You don't have to do a whole rainbow within one. It's nice. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but if I were doing a bigger scene with many, I probably wouldn't do them all rainbow. I would do each its own color. All right, let's get some markers. Since these are kind of primary colors, I think I'm going to switch back to my Sharpies. If you haven't used acrylic markers before, they are something else. They're so much fun. I'm not trying to enable you. There are probably some on sale on Amazon Prime days, but it's acrylic paint and a pen. It's wild. I don't know how I did anything before these. So I did my pencil lines. Some of them have disappeared. It's interesting because the ones that I can still see are in the darkest part, but not so much in the light part. So I'm wondering if I should sketch them back in real quick. Since I'm live and there are people watching, if I was home by myself, I would definitely just go for it and hope for the best. Let's at least draw in a couple of these. Okay. So the thing with the acrylic markers is sometimes they do require another layer, and you would definitely want it to dry in between. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. It is hot here. It is very dry here. Things dry very, very quickly. So it's going to dry quicker for me than for most people. Thanks, Dawn. I hope you have a great night, and I will definitely be chatting with you soon. Some of the acrylic markers that I really like are from Sharpie. The other ones that I really like are from Grabby, but I also have I have another set that I forgot that I ordered, which is embarrassing, but they're from Artistro, which is the same company that makes these really amazing white acrylic pens. You can buy sets that are just these white ones, and they're phenomenal. They're so much easier to use for the most part. I have to give a disclaimer, for the most part, but easier to use than, let's say, a white gel pen, which can give inconsistent results. Some of them are better than others, of course, but you're so sweet, Dawn. Okay. The Sharpie Creative markers, which are their acrylic markers, come in a couple of different styles. So they're these original ones that have a bullet tip, and then they also have some that have a fine tip. And these ones you can shake up a little bit. The other ones you don't have to do anything. And I didn't mean to grab this one, but since I did, I thought I would mention that difference there. I've got quite a lot of markers on my desk now. You can just see a tiny little part of the area that I'm working in, but I've made quite a mess already. So if you compare mine to what they did, they're obviously different, and that's okay. This is also the first time that I'm doing this, so I'm sure the second time I do it, it will be better and it will continue to improve like anything else. But I still think it's going to turn out really cool. I'm not concerned at this point. I don't usually panic about how things are going to turn out until we're getting close to the end. I like these dots in here. I think that really starts to add something. They didn't put any down here, but I think I will do that. And then what's really going to make this come to life and be bright and shiny is the white detail. So for that, I could use a white gel pen, but I'm going to be using the Artistro, and I've been raving about how great it is, so you'll get to see it in action. But this is still a little bit wet. I can see some sheen on it, so we'll wait a minute on that. And then I feel like I'll probably come back in and I may add some other colors as well. And since I'm going to be waiting for that to dry anyway, I'll probably add a base layer to my frame here. Hannah, I'm sorry I'm enabling you tonight. I do think that you will enjoy acrylic pens. They're really fun to color with. And the other thing, so I know I'll be sharing a lot with the world probably about my coloring on Friday, but I never considered shading alcohol markers with colored pencils until very recently when I saw someone else do it. It never occurred to me that I could shade alcohol with something other than alcohol, which is wild. Like, obviously, you can mix mediums, right? And I mean, I've always mixed mediums. But it didn't occur to me that you can shade alcohol markers with colored pencil. And once you try that, your coloring world will change forever because they're so much easier to control. You could just, and this is what I've started doing in my coloring books, you can put down your base color with the alcohol marker, get a nice solid base color, and then do all of the shading with colored pencils. And it's amazing. And if you already have colored pencils, then you don't have to buy anything. So that's great too. Let's it's just a little bit tacky still. So I'm gonna give it another second. I'll do a base coat on my curtain here. I don't know what color I wanna make it. Needs to be relatively dark. Oh, I'll do a dark purple. Do a dark purple for my curtain. You might be able to hear Coleman. He just walked in making some noise. It's getting close to his dinner time. He has a relatively accurate clock in his stomach. Normally my husband is here right now and he would kick him out, but he's at his PT appointment. Right. Hannah says she has Prismacolor pencils and 2 different types of alcohol markers, so yes, you would be totally set. So have you done the combination, Hannah? Have you used colored pencils with your alcohol markers? And hello, Lily. Welcome. Doing some coloring tonight. There's different kinds of acrylic markers and pens out there. Some of them you need to shake. This is one of them. If you're gonna get these Sharpie Creative markers, there's nothing to do. You don't have to prime them, shake them, nothing. They're ready to go. But this one, this is worth the effort to give it a little shake. Give myself some space over here. All right, so I'm gonna look back at my drawing, the original here, see what's going on. So these lines appear to be a little thinner and then get a little thicker. I don't know if I'll be able to achieve that today or not. That looks like something that might take some practice, but they're doing them right in the center of each of the colored streaks. So starting from the center and then working out and then getting a little bit thicker. I'll start with the one here. Oh, another tip for these Artistro acrylic markers, these ones, and it gives you directions. Shake, press, draw, because it has to pull some of the ink in from the barrel. So there we go, just gotta get it warmed up a little. All right, and you'll know when you need to do that because it won't be dispensing any paint. So look how, let's see if I can get this in the view here. You can't do that with a gel pen, not with a white gel pen. So it's pretty amazing. And it's great at things like going over the black lines. So if you wanted to get rid of a line in a coloring book image or in a stamped image, or whatever, you want to get rid of it, you can definitely use something like this to do that. So the next thing that I'm noticing, like I said, this is the first time that I'm doing this, I'm just following along, is my firework is larger than this one. And so there's a lot more space in between my lines than in theirs, because I think I did about the same number of lines. And so theirs are just, you know, a little closer together, which tells me that I should go back and add some more. And that's what I'll do. And in the meantime, since I have my white marker out, I'm just gonna go ahead and add some of these white dots in here. And yeah, I'm gonna add a couple more little streaks in here. I'm not worried too much about which colors I'm using. If they're the same colors that are close nearby, I think that's great. And if they're a little bit different, it just gives it a little extra variation. So that's fine too. It's definitely one of those practice makes better examples. And it's interesting because some of them in here, you know, the first time that I do it, I'm like, got it, solid, that was easy. And sometimes I'm like, oh, right, I didn't consider that when I was using a permanent coloring medium to put this down. Like, I did not consider how close or far apart my lines were compared to theirs, but that's okay. Besides these awesome books that show you how to draw the patterns and they give you the step-by-step, there are also books that have been designed for you to just practice your patterns. And some people just practice like on scratch paper, and then when they have it down, then they'll put that version into the patterns book so that they kind of have a library of all the different techniques that they know. And if you have not spent any time in the online world of adult coloring, there are some talented people who are doing really amazing things with alcohol markers and acrylic markers and gel pens and things. So I highly recommend checking that out if you're interested at all. You can see a little bit on my channel, but I do not spend the time that a lot of these people are, and they're just amazing at what they do. And it's, you know, great inspiration, gives you lots of ideas, and it's just fun to see other people's talents. I'm just constantly amazed at what people can do artistically or musically or athletically. I'm adding in some little hearts to mimic what they've done here. And then I'm going to come back in and add some dots and sparkles. And these little dots and sparkles really are going to help make it look sparkly. You can also use a white pen like this for creating a starry sky. But it works really nice for the sparkles here. A lot of them are dots, but I'm also doing some long T's as sparkles, and then I'll just kind of fade out some toward the bottom. And it doesn't look exactly like theirs, but it does kind of look like a firework. I'm excited to try this again. This is definitely an example that makes me want to do it one more time, you know, do it a little bit better next time. So all right, I'm just gonna wrap this up, and I'll go back later and I'll finish the texture on my frame, and I'll add a pattern to my curtains. Certainly I won't leave it like that. But in the next few days I am going to be filming a longer video, apologize if you've heard me say this already, but a longer video that compares the Coco Wyo How to Draw Patterns with the other 4 readily available books: How to Color, How to Draw Easy Patterns, How to Color ? And You Can Color This. They're all a lot of fun. They're all a little bit different. And if you're trying to consider which one or ones you want to buy, that video might be helpful for you. I hope that you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you on Friday for Craft Roulette, and have a great evening. Bye, everybody.